Before the Uchiha massacre, when they were just close brothers, Itachi told Sasuke that being the best isn't what it's cracked up to be. It's great at the start. Everyone idolizes you, wants to be around you, wants to be you. Sooner or later though, it isolates you. Those same people now fear you or resent you. This was true for Itachi Uchiha, but he isn't the biggest example of this in Naruto. No, the best example of this is the Uzumaki clan. A clan so feared, the entire ninja world banded together to wipe them from existence. My name is Hoodie Song, this is Kato, and today let's talk about everything we know about what happened to the Uzumaki clan. The Uzumakis descend from Ashura Utsutsuki and were one of the most prominent clans in the ninja world. They were legendary for three things: absurd chakra reserves, strong life forces, and dangerous sealing jutsu. They were based in the land of whirlpools, and their village became known as the Village of Longevity. There were two telltale signs of an Uzumaki: bright red hair and a wealth of chakra. The Uzumaki were dangerous, but they weren't violent. They also shared a distant relation to the Senju clan, and the two were very close allies. This friendship is symbolized in the uniform of Chunin and Jonin ninja in the Leaf Village, and this friendship extended so far that the first Hokage married an Uzumaki. But their unique abilities made them a source of fear for every other village but the Hidden Leaf. We don't know exactly when it happened, but at some point, many other villages banded together to destroy the clan, and they were basically successful. The once great clan was now in ruins, and only a handful of survivors escaped to different parts of the ninja world. Let's talk about what exactly made the Uzumakis so feared. We mentioned them having a strong life force, but what does that mean exactly? It's heavily implied that the Uzumakis were essentially the only people capable of being Jinchurikis for the Ninetales. Nobody else could really handle the strain of containing a power that great, at least not for long. This is likely why we saw it pass from Mito to Kushina to Naruto, and it was also the reason why Kushina was almost kidnapped as a child. The Raikage was desperate for a host that could contain the power of the Eight Tails, and who better for something like that than an Uzumaki? The Uzumakis are so absurd in this regard that they even break some of the rules of being a Jinchuriki. For pretty much anyone else, if a Jinchuriki has their tailed beast extracted from them, they die immediately, as seen with Gaara. The Uzumakis, however, have shown some incredible durability after having their tailed beast removed. When Kushina had the Ninetales extracted from her, not only did she survive, but she had more than enough power to help Minato contain the Ninetales on top of that. Had Kushina not been stabbed by the Ninetales in order to protect Naruto, she might have made it through the night. Another obvious example of this in action is with Karen. Her life force is so strong that just biting her and absorbing some of her chakra acts as healing. Of course, then we have Mito, who was still alive during the middle of Sarutobi's reign as the third Hokage. Mito had outlived Hashirama and Tobirama and had managed to make it through two great ninja wars and was still strong enough to be the vessel for the Ninetales before she had to pass it down to Kushina. But here's the thing. This sort of vague life force ability of the Uzumakis isn't even their most impressive ability. Let's talk about their chakra reserves. The Uzumaki are legendary for having absurd amounts of chakra. Many people attribute Naruto's chakra pool to the fact that he is a Jinchuriki, and there is some truth to that. But in reality, he would be capable of making 100 shadow clones simply because of who his mother is. Another great example is Nagato himself. Nagato has two Rinnegan that aren't his. We know from Kakashi what happens when you use a dojutsu that you didn't have from birth. In the case of Kakashi in part 1, the chakra drain from having just one Sharingan was so absurd that he could only bust it out in life or death situations. Then we have Obito, who, despite having half of his body made up of Hashirama's cells, couldn't handle more than one of Madara's Rinnegan at a time. This is frankly absurd considering Nagato could safely handle both of them even since he was a teenager. He had enough chakra to fight everyone in the Leaf Village, destroy their home, fight a rampaging Naruto, and then summon a gigantic meteor. None of this would have been possible for anyone that wasn't an Uzumaki. And these are just sort of abstract abilities. We haven't even touched on their unique jutsu yet. The Uzumaki are famous for their sealing jutsu, to the point where they're basically the only clan that really specializes in it. We haven't seen many of these in action, but the ones that we have are more than enough. The most infamous of which would be the Reaper Death Seal. Now here's the interesting thing about this jutsu. We've only seen two people use it, Hiruzen and Minato, but even here you could see a difference in their techniques. Hiruzen has to get up close and personal, literally grabbing onto his opponent to make it work, but Minato could use his from a pretty big distance, removing one of the jutsu's biggest weaknesses. The thing is, neither of them are Uzumaki, the original creators of the technique. Is there potential here that we haven't seen? I'd say it's pretty likely. Then we have Naruto's own seal, the 8 trigram seal, which was another invention of the Uzumaki. From what we know, most of the sealing jutsu capable of sealing entire tailed beasts come directly from this clan in one way or another, and these are ridiculously versatile, being used both offensively and defensively. It's important to remember that the Uzumaki could seal basically anything. We've seen it mostly used to seal away tailed beasts, but they could have theoretically used it to seal away actual human beings. And the thought of that is just frankly terrifying. This is also just speculation on my part, but I think it's pretty likely that a lot of the scroll techniques are derived from Uzumaki jutsu. Then finally we come to adamantine chains. This is an ability rare even to those in the clan. Using their own chakra, the user can make giant chains shoot out of their body, restraining as many opponents as they want. These chains are insanely strong, to the point where even the full 9 tails couldn't break out of Kushina's. This was her at her weakest, after she's given birth and has had the strongest tailed beast ripped out of her. And still, Kurama could not fight against this technique. Had Kushina been at her peak, we have no idea how strong those chains would have been, and the possibilities are crazy. They also have the added property of sealing away the chakra of whoever they touch, making them basically an instant death sentence against most people. And it's not limited to just restraining people either. With her chains, Karin was able to destroy the giant wooden statue that Toby made, which hundreds of ninja were previously struggling with. The adamantine chains alone are one of the strongest abilities in the entire series, and it's a shame that we never got to see more of them. There are also some other jutsu that one could speculate as being part of the Uzumaki heritage, but aren't necessarily confirmed, like Karin's ridiculous sensory abilities. But that about sums up all of the jutsu we know specifically come from the Uzumaki clan. And with all of that said, it's not hard to see why the entire world might be invested into taking this powerhouse out. But that does raise some interesting questions. Of the Uzumaki we've seen outside of Naruto, these weren't necessarily elite ninja. Sure, Kushina was probably pretty strong, and Karin was one of Orochimaru's disciples, but neither of them would have been leaders of the clan. So we can only imagine that there were Uzumaki capable of even stronger feats than these. And that's why it took so many villages banding together to destroy them. So the real question is, how were they destroyed? And that's one we don't have an answer for. But in the end, their power was their downfall. While a handful of Uzumaki did manage to survive, it's been cut down to less than a dozen by the time of Boruto. Kushina died in Naruto's backstory, Nagato died during Shippuden. Who else is out there other than Karin and Naruto themselves? Naruto obviously has 2 children, but neither of them seem to be bearing the mantle of the Uzumaki clan techniques. The history of the Uzumaki will continue in name only. There are a lot of questions that one might have about the Uzumaki, especially because they are the namesake of the main character. It's crazy to think that we might never have most of these answers. It doesn't seem like something Kishimoto is particularly interested in telling. He's had plenty of opportunities to elaborate on the clan's history or Naruto getting in touch with his roots, and yet that never seems to be a distinct issue on his mind. But whatever the case may be, from the little we do know about them, the Uzumaki were a force to be reckoned with. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on that notification bell. Before I go, I just want to give a quick shout out to all of the incredible patrons over at patreon.com/KatoYT. We're super active in our patron Discord server, occasionally throwing some late night anime and movie watch parties, so if that's something you're interested in, pledge just a single $1 to get an invite. You can also follow us on Twitter at KatoBeyond. Links to everything will be in the description. Again, my name is Hoodie, this is Kato, and thank you for watching.